Jeff, the host of the Gridiron.
All right, welcome to the Gridiron, baby. If you can give this video a thumbs up or maybe share this video, that would be absolutely freaking phenomenal. If you subscribe to my channel, thank you. If not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way next time I go live or if I put a video out, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge. What do you got to lose? It's totally free of charge. But if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you. If you want to help support my channel, description box below, one of the top links almost in the description box takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. Each one has their own little perks to them. So once again, if you want to help support my channel, it would mean so much to me. And I thank you in advance. Thank you. And then finally, just underneath that link in the description box is another link. Takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. We have over 9,500 members in the group. It's doing simply marvelous, might I add. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing, and if I got internet access, I'm putting stuff in this group darn near 365. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You will not be dissatisfied. I promise. All right, guys. Well, it's well, let's see what it is. In Eastern time zone, it's only 1 o'clock in the morning here. So 12 hours and counting until we get some more pain. Right? Just another, this is like the Novocaine season, right? You need a big shot of Novocaine week in and week out. It's just, obviously, thankfully, it's just a shame. It really is when you just, it's. I don't know. When was it for you? When was it for me? When was it for, when we were just, most of us anyway, when we were at the point where it's like, thank God the season's almost over. But we keep saying that, unfortunately, right? And tomorrow will be no different. There'll be absolutely no different tomorrow. It'll just be like, how we, are we going to get blown out, or we're going to keep it, like a 1-score kind of close game? But then when that happens, how are we going to lose the game? What will be those 2 or 3 or so plays in the game that go against the Giants that make the Giants wind up losing the game? So, you figure, if you look at it, really, we've had the 3 big ones, and of course, they're all at home. Right, the Buccaneer game, right, the Eagle game, and the first game of the season, the Viking game, right? A lot of the other games were just close games. We just wound up, for whatever reason, one way or the other, just couldn't get it done, right? And after the game's over, it's like, well, if this play and this play and this play would have happened, or if against Washington, we would have had a kicker in the one game, or if this happened, we could have won that, Yeah. So for me, I can honestly say, thankfully, the season's coming to a close. It really is a shame because you go through all of this stuff and everything, and you get to that certain point in the season, it's like, we'll get a good draft pick, Other teams are out there, man, what position we're going to be in the playoff battle, and who we're going to go in the first round, and and then there's teams like the Giants, and we'll go over about the Jets as well too. Where are we going to be drafting, right? Who can we get in free agency? And then it's like, you build your hopes up and all of that and everything. Maybe not Super Bowl aspirations, but maybe a better season. Right? And then, of course, it just goes in the dumper once again. So, thankfully, for me anyway, we only have 4 games left on this the putrid season here. After tomorrow, good rule. Hey, you got to play the games. Anything's possible, right? There's, right? Just because we're, I think, 16 and a half point underdogs. You have to play the games. You got to kick off. You got to play to 60 minutes. A lot of things can happen in 60 minutes. A lot. For the Giants to keep it close, it's not going to be easy. They're going to have to, get some lucky breaks. Like what happened 2 years ago, right? Remember that toward the end of the game, right? The bad snap, right? Lamar Jackson got past him. Of course, the freakish athlete that he was, he ran back, picked the ball up, but he was running, then he threw the ball and it got picked off, right? Or also when Kayvon knocked the ball out of his hand, and I think Leo the Lion jumped on it. We got the ball. You're going to need stuff like that. We're going to need not to be able to turn it over. Almost everything's going to need to go the Giants' way, right? Hasn't happened yet for the Giants this year, and I don't see why it would happen. The Ravens. We've got a couple articles to read over here and all, but the Ravens. They're coming off a bye week. They're fighting for their lives as far as for the playoffs because for them not to make. They got two really easy games that they should win. I think the Giants and Cleveland. Then I think they got to play Pittsburgh and the Texans. So they got two easy games they should win. But hey, especially in those divisional games, when you're going against the Browns, right? Anything can happen there, right? But there's two games they certainly will be favored to win, and then there's another two games that'll be tough. If they were to lose to the Steelers and maybe the Texans, and they get 7 losses. I don't remember off the top of my head, where would I might put them at, maybe in the playoff picture and all. But tell you what, man, if they miss the playoffs, that would be that would be a major disappointment for them. So they're going to come in, they're pissed off. They lost a couple weeks ago to the Eagles. I think they were up like 9-3, and then I can't even talk about it. I just hate the Eagles so much. So I didn't watch the game, and especially if the Eagles win, I will not watch an Eagle game if they win. So exactly what happened, but the Ravens were winning like 9-3, and then it went from 9-3. They were up today. They were down 24-12. So somewhere along the line, they got outscored 3 touchdowns to 3 points. The Eagles outscored them 21-3 one stretch. What happened? I don't know. So, but it's going to be tough for the Giants to do much of anything really, really positive in this game. But got some articles here. I just read them over real fast there. Go over some numbers and some stats and all that stuff and everything. It's almost like kind of comical for me to sit here and let's break down the offense and we'll go over, what the Giants need to do to be successful. And they haven't done it all year. I don't know why they would start tomorrow. So. Well, that's it. It takes very few chairs to seat all the NFL running backs with Derrick Henry's mixture of size, speed, strength, and breathtaking possibility. Oh, yeah. Adoree Jackson said he's one of one. Jackson would know better than most. In the first 4 NFL seasons, Jackson and Henry were teammates in the Titans. Tomorrow they will meet for the second time as opponents when the Giants and the Ravens clash at MetLife Stadium. When the two played together, Jackson often thought how fortunate he was not to have to try to tackle Henry, but he wouldn't be able to avoid him tomorrow. That is for sure. He's 6'3", 247 pounds, and his speed it's frightening. He's actually more agile than a lot of people give him credit for. He has great balance, very smart, and Adoree Jackson said Derrick Henry is one of one. Henry will be one of the many excellent playmakers the Giants defenders will face on a Baltimore offense that is perhaps the NFL's best. Now you got to listen to some of these numbers. I mean, it's just, the Ravens lead the league in yards per game, 422, and yards per play, 6.8. They average almost 7 yards a play. Rushing yards per carry, 5.7. Yards per pass attempt, 8.7. You average almost 9 yards per pass attempt. That is fantastic. I mean, they're averaging on a pass attempt almost a first down on every pass attempt. The Giants are averaging 3 inches on every pass attempt. I mean, it's a joke, absolute joke. And they're second per in the NFL in first downs per game with 22.9. So they average 23 first downs a game. And rushing yards, 179 yards rushing a game. Now, of course, a lot of that also has to do with Lamar. And they were a lowly third in yards per game, points per game, 29.5 points per game. Giants are like half of that. Giants are, let's see, so the Ravens average almost 30 points a game, 29.5. The Giants average almost 15 points a game. When Baltimore, and this is like the line of demarcation right here. When Baltimore scores 28 points or more, they're 8-0. When the Ravens have scored 30 or more points 5 times, and I'm sure it would be rather shocking if they didn't score at least 30 points tomorrow. But anyway, but when they score fewer than 28 points, they're 0-5. So the Giants have to try to hold them to under 28 points. But, of course, the Giants would also have to score 28 points. And the Giants don't do that. So the Giants will face a dynamic team without their 2 leading tacklers, Newman and Okereke. So that does not help much. However, the Giants did show, right, last week against the Saints, they were able to keep Alvin Kamara on the check. I mean, they did a very good job, defensively. But the Saints offense is not what the Ravens offense is either. Carr is not Lamar Jackson. Carr is a better thrower, but Jackson is a very good, he can throw the ball very well, but he's dynamic at running the ball. I'm not sure, one thing is his mother was pissed off at him, Lamar, after the Eagles game because she thought he could have ran more. He should have ran more. And I think he vowed to run more. So Giants got to be prepared tomorrow. That is for sure. Shane Bowen said it's a big challenge. It's going to take all 11 guys. The post safety is going to have to be involved with Derrick and with Lamar to make sure we're doing our job. And at the same time, we have to be able to get off blocks and get to the ball. Yeah. Jackson leads all NFL quarterbacks with 678 rushing yards. Henry has rushed for a league tying 13 touchdowns. Yeah, Henry averages 5.9 yards a carry. I mean, just, staggering, mind-staggering. Just how good he's been. Giants have struggled to stop the run at times this season. I mean, sometimes, every now and then they do good, but for the most part, their run defense has been a joke. They did fantastic last week against the Saints, right, with a backup supporting cast in there, right? I mean, it's just not supporting backup starters in there, right? I mean, but they did a fantastic job. Can they do it 2 weeks in a row? They're going to need to, really going to need to. I mean, the Giants are just banged up everywhere. Yeah. I mean, all 3 levels, really. I mean, it's on defense, right? They're banged up. The defensive front, banged up. Okereke, right? He's out. Our safety's out. Cornerback play, we got guys banged up in the corner, banged up everywhere. Yeah. Kind of tough to win. Really tough to win. Let's see here. But there's also one thing, too, is that, the Ravens are coming off their bye week, but they're also, going to be heading into a stretch here where they have, I think it says in this article, 3 games in 10 days. So in this one little article here, they're also, cautioned, to not maybe overuse Henry because they need these 4 games. They really need to win 3 out of these final 4 games. So they don't want to maybe overuse him too much, right? So Ravens receive a warning about Derrick Henry usage versus the Giants. Making smarter use of Derrick Henry should be the priority for the Ravens ahead of a run of 3 games in 10 days. But, it's not like they've been playing, they just came off their bye as well, too. But needless to say, you play 3 games in 10 days. That's a lot, right? How the Ravens use workhorse running back Henry will largely determine how the team fares across the next 3 games. It's worrying then the Ravens have been overloading their leading rusher even when games have been all but won. That's something the Ravens absolutely cannot do against a 2-11 Giants team they are expected to beat with room to spare. When the Ravens are leading by 14 plus points in the second half of a game, they have given 80% of their rushing attempts to Henry, just trying to run out the clock, right? Hey, we're up by 2 touchdowns. Let's just control the clock and just give it to Henry. So they've been using him a lot. That absolutely, that cannot happen in this game. The Ravens need to be smart with Derrick Henry on Sunday. Henry has 80% of the running back rushes up when they're up by 14 or more points in the second half. Wow. If the Ravens are up big in the second half, save King Henry and for Pittsburgh and let Justice Hill cook. Because they got the Giants and they got the Steelers, and then on Christmas Day, I think it is, they have they're playing the Texans. So they got 2 tough games back to back. And then the last game, they're playing Cleveland. Hey, it's going to be tough no matter what, right? And Cleveland will have nothing better than to ruin, right, the Ravens season by beating them. But that's something that, that would make a lot of sense. Make a lot of sense, obviously, to me anyway, not to overuse Henry. For them anyway, but they got plenty of weapons. Now, unfortunately, one of the problems is that the Ravens have, what do we got? 1, 2. They got 4 guys who are questionable, not doubtful, questionable. That means there's a better chance that they are going to play. They have nobody doubtful, nobody out. They just got 4 guys who are questionable. They got Isaac, their outside linebacker with a hamstring. Kane, their safety with a hamstring. Michael Pierce, their nose tackle with a calf. And their cornerback, TJ Tampa, with an ankle. So everybody on their offense is none of them nobody on their offense has an injury designation, according to this article here. So they came back from, unlike with the Giants, they're relatively healthy, unlike the Giants, who can't go through playing 1 down without losing 17 or 18 different guys for the season. It's unbelievable. So the Giants have Nacho is out, Bobby Okereke is out, Drew Phillips is out, and John Runyon's out. And let's not also forget, right, about all the guys that they've been putting on IR, right? Doubtful. Drew Lock is doubtful with a heel and a left elbow. Right, Drew, let's see. Cordell Flott with a quad, he's doubtful. So, so we got, Phillips is out. Flott is doubtful. Questionable. Deonte Banks is with a rib. Questionable. Hubbard with a knee. Their tackle. Deontay Johnson with an ankle. And Austin Schlottman with the fibula is questionable. So, I mean, Schlotman has been out for so long, right? Since like the beginning of the season, he comes back and now he's injured again. It's an absolutely unbelievable. It really is. Absolutely unbelievable. The Giants' luck so far this year. You know, guys have been injured, come back, and injured again. I mean, but let's not forget. They got who they got. Let's not forget about Newman too, right? So they got Cordell Flott, a cornerback, is doubtful. Then they got Deonte Banks, a cornerback, is questionable. Then their one safety is out, right? He's not on the injury report because he got on season-ending injury reserve. So the Giants are banged up to say the absolute least. One thing they're talking about filling in for Newman, right? Giants have been decimated by injuries on both sides of the ball this year. The latest starter to land on injury reserve is Tyler Newman. So they're going to need to have somebody in there now. I guess might be, I guess Dane Belton, right? Bellinger did nicely last week in the absence of obviously for Theo, right? Bellinger's going to need to get some balls. This is just one of those things. It's kind of, there's no magic. We need to control the line of scrimmage, control the run, get the running game going. And off of that, let's hit some passes. We can't drop any balls. We got the guys are there. We got to hit them. Let's try to, attack the middle of the defense. That's where they're weakest. That's in their zone. That's where they're weak. There's none of it. Ain't none of that. I mean, the Giants are going to need to get some bounces going their way, period. Right? Tucker, right? He's been stroking the Stromboli also. I don't know what the hell's going on with that guy. I know he missed some kicks against the Eagles. Once again, the Eagles luck out, right? Giants are going to need him to miss all of his field goal tries. If he even go, I know he missed an extra point against the Eagles, so the Giants are going to need for him to miss an extra point. It's just almost everything's going to need to go the Giants' way. For them to try to pull this one out. I mean, it's just plain and simple. I mean, the Giants are banged up. They were decimated. We're on up basically. They've had Lamar Jackson as their quarterback every year. Every game, right? The Giants were at Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito, Drew Lock, back to Tommy DeVito. We're playing musical chairs with the quarterback. Right? Let's hope. That maybe Malik can get another 5 receptions or so and pick up another maybe 50, 60 yards, whatever it is. It would be nice to see if maybe he can get himself 100 receptions and 1,000 yards. That would be fantastic. Really, really would be fantastic. I don't expect much from this game. Once again, the game could be over by halftime. Could be the Buccaneer kind of thing where we're down 23-0. So don't expect much from this game. This is certainly be a good case for a lot of these guys who may not normally get a chance to do much playing, to step up, make a few plays, see what they can do going forward, especially if this regime is coming back next season, right? Let some of these guys step up, right? Who, as I said, who normally won't be getting much of playing time when other guys, when the starters are healthy, and see if they can make some plays, right? I'll put some good stuff on film for them. So even if the Giants don't keep them, right, some of these players, right, they let them go. They go elsewhere, because everybody's putting stuff down on their resume every time they're on the field, right? Everything's on film, right? So, I said that, I mean, I mean, it's just to be mildly, just try to be polite here. It's, once again, you got to play the game. You got to play 60 minutes. Anything can happen in 60 minutes. Right? I mean, as bad as Carolina is, the Chiefs had to have a game-winning field goal. I guess time ran out to beat Carolina. Carolina could have possibly beat the Eagles last week, but of course the Eagles once again luck out as they do every week. Right? I mean, the guy was wide open. Toward the end of the game, ball hits him right here. If he catches the ball, they have the ball. He might have been stopped at the 1 or so, 1 or 2 maybe. He caught the, but of course the Eagles are lucky, or they have good luck, and the ball just hit the ground a little bit, so the pass was incomplete. So it's made it where the Eagles once again got lucky, right? So they didn't want to win it. So the Carolina, But Carolina shouldn't have been in that game with the Eagles. The Eagles, I don't know, had 2 losses, I think. Carolina had 3 wins, whatever. So you got to play the games, right? So anything can happen. It doesn't mean the Giants are going to win, but hey, I don't know. Maybe we lose 28-20. So so we'll have to wait and see. But I don't expect much. I wish them the best, but then again, as I said, once again, if they don't wind up winning, right, it will be 2-12. Yeah. All right. So, all right. Now, obviously, this might have been one of the reasons why, obviously, that why Belichick was a little on the fence as far as or not wanting to come to the Giants, because obviously the Giants were a couple years away from contending. It was going to be they're going to have to obviously try to find a quarterback, right? And if they don't find a quarterback in the draft or whatever, they're going to have to find a bridge quarterback. So it's that's quite possibly one of the reasons why, right? Belichick didn't want the Giants job. But a lot of times when coaching opportunities open up, usually it's because the team sucks, right? There's not many Vince Lombardis, right? After the '67 season, he was the the general manager and the coach. They just won the Super Bowl, so he stepped down as the coach, leaving the vacancy, a coaching vacancy of a Super Bowl winning team, right? So he can just be like the GM, right? Yeah, that doesn't happen. Usually, there's a coaching vacancy because the team blows, right? So that's why, as I said, one of the things that Belichick probably, kind of turned him off about this job here, quite possibly. Yeah. There was from Empire Sports Media, right? Giants reportedly ready to rebuild, viewed as a 2 to 3 years from contending. So it's time for the Giants to start from scratch. A rebuild is in order following back-to-back losing seasons and a skyfall plummet from the success of the 2022 season that earned a postseason victory. With this season spiraling out of control, co-owner and team president John Mara has some critical decisions to make this offseason as he trains his sights on the future of the organization. The chances of the Giants cleaning house is increasing, according to Jordan Renan, Mr. Nancy Negativity. According to ESPN's Jordan Renan, there is a greater than 50% chance that general manager Joe Schoen and head coach Brian Daboll are fired this offseason. Better than 50%. Despite Mara issuing a vote of confidence for the pair of decision makers back in October, their 2-11 record this season and potential 2-15 record and 0-9 record at home might be bad enough to cost them their jobs. Mara needs to decide whether the team's lackluster record over the last 2 seasons is enough to forego the practice of patience and usher in a new regime to rebuild the roster and restructure the franchise. Renan reports that one NFL personnel executive estimated it will take 2 to 3 years to build the Giants into a contending team. Do Shane and Dave will have another 2 or 3 years of leeway to right the ship? Or will those formative years be led by a new regime? Interesting. Fans took to the skies last weekend to call upon Mara to make organizational changes. A plane circled over MetLife Stadium prior to their loss to the Saints, flying a banner overhead that begged Mara to fix this dumpster fire. If the past is any indication, once fans get this loud with their complaints, it usually sparks Mara to make changes at the top of the organization. Considering the long multi-year rebuild projection, the Giants might have a difficult time attracting top candidates for their potentially vacant head coaching and front office positions. Despite their success in 2022, the Giants' downward spiral ever since could result in mass firings. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, though, but it might take several years and a new regime to find the light. Now, there's another thing here, that a former executive warns the Giants, warns of the problems of sticking with Dable and Shane. Whispers continue to suggest that the New York Giants co-owner John Mara could dismiss head coach Brian Dable and general manager Joe Shane with the 2-11 club on track to earn the first pick in the draft. Now, let's not forget, the Giants earned the first pick in the draft basically, how do we say, right? They earned it, right? Basically like 2 times, right? They earned it in the 65, right, season, and they took Tucker Fredrickson because they had a 2-10-2 record in 64. And in 66, they were 1-12-1. And in 67, they had the number 1 overall pick. Unfortunately for them, they traded that to Minnesota when they got Fran Tarkenton. And the Minnesota Vikings took that number 1 pick and selected Hall of Fame tackle Ranieri with the selection. So who knows if the Giants had that selection, if they would have taken Ranieri or not. Who knows? But Giants had the number 1 overall selection in the 1951 draft, but that's because they had won and I don't know why they had this, but there was a back then for a period of time they had the teams, but they put them in like a lottery situation. Like they would put all the teams in I don't know, I guess I made a hat or something, and pull out a name of a team to get the number 1 overall pick. I don't know why they did something like that, but Giants had a very good record in 1950. But in 1951, they wound up with the first overall pick, and they wound up taking Kyle Rote with that pick. They earned it not because they had a bad record, but they earned it because they won in a lottery, right? So go figure. But the Giants earned the number 1 overall pick 2 other times, 65 and 67, right? So this might quite possibly be the 3rd time that the Giants ever earned in 100 years. Of course, now the draft didn't start until 1936, but this might be from 36 anyway, from 36 to 2025, basically almost 90 years, right? This might possibly be the 3rd time that the Giants earned the number 1 overall pick. So. Let's see. During a recent conversation with Daryl Slater of NJ Advanced Media, for NJ.com, an unnamed prominent former NFL front office executive explained why Mara should fire both Dable and Shane. The question I think Mara should be asking himself is, did my previous hires not work because I was too impatient? Or did they not work because I got the wrong guys? If he thinks I didn't hire the best people I could have, then the last thing you want to do is bring in a young quarterback and put him in a situation where he's already swimming upstream based on the GM and coach performance over the last 3 years, the former executive said. Since the 2022 Giants fell to the Eagles in the playoffs, since the final game of the 2022 season, the Giants have lost 22 of 30 regular season games. So we're 8-22, soon to be 8-23. Dable and Shane failing to acquire legitimate competition for quarterback Daniel Jones last offseason resulted in club entering its 2024 bye week at 2-8. New York parted ways with Jones in November. According to ESPN stats, the Giants ranked last in the NFL, averaged 14.9 points per game. As recently as Wednesday, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler revealed that he has spoken to people with the team who believes Mara wants to stick to his plan of retaining Dable and Shane for another year. However, Fowler added that outsiders are wondering how difficult that will be if it's Week 17 and MetLife Stadium is half full with the Giants stuck on 2 wins. Also on Wednesday, ESPN's Field Yates predicted that the Giants will spend their first pick of the 2025 draft on Shedeur Sanders. You're potentially going to find yourself 1 year into his tenure, and then you have to make a change, the former executive said about potentially marrying a rookie quarterback with Dable and Shane, which is true. That's much more harmful than making a change now. Whoever is going to coach him and whatever they're going to teach him, at least for the first few years, should be consistent. It was previously said that the Giants may need to finish the season with at least 5 wins for Dable and Shane to hold on to their jobs. There's now only 4 games left on the schedule, and DraftKings Sports listed New York on Wednesday as a massive 16-point underdogs for this upcoming Sunday's battle, obviously against the Ravens. So, I mean that does make a lot of sense. I mean, obviously, if you think about it, right? If they're in kind of shaky waters, right? Dable and Shane, right? Do you want to bring in a new quarterback? Now that they got to ask yourself this, right? Would that buy Shane and Dable another year? Well, they got the quarterback, okay. So you always get, they got the quarterback coming, and you always give the coach, you always give him the 1 year mulligan, right? You give him the 1 year, and then okay, let's see what happens in the second year. Are we still projecting up, right? Tough decision. If they bring the quarterback in, right, you got Shane and Dable and a new quarterback, and they don't do very well next season, do they get rid of them? But what executive says in this article, right, is if you bring, say, Shedeur in, right, bring him in, right, and the Giants don't do very good next year, right, and then you want to find Shane and Dable, right, and you bring somebody new in, and now Shedeur will have his second coach, second GM, second offensive coordinator, second offensive system in 2 years. Yeah, that's not the way you want to do it, right? So it's tough, right? So either you cut your losses right now, right? Bring in a new regime, right? Let them pick the quarterback who they want to go forward, marching forward, right? I mean, because they can maybe have their choice, whoever they want. Maybe we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be the big game coming up. I can't remember if it's this week or next week. Whatever. Yeah, between Jacksonville and the Raiders, we got to pull for the Raiders in that one. Pull for the Raiders, baby, to beat Jacksonville. So I have to wait and see. But it's a tricky situation there. I think Mara's going to be patient, even if we wind up 2-15. I think he's going to be patient. I mean, you can just see we have no quarterback. The injuries, once again, we'd be totally decimated by injuries. Right? No team's going to the Super Bowl. With all these injuries the Giants have, no team's going to the Super Bowl. We put our fourth, we've had Jones, we've had DeVito, we've had Locke. Now we're going back to that. No, like, I don't know if DeVito's their second or third string. Yeah, the Chiefs, it's like a third. You can put the Chiefs' third string quarterback in there. Guess what? They're not going to the Super Bowl. Take Jared Goff out, put their third string quarterback. Guess what? They're not winning the Super Bowl. The same thing with the Eagles. Guess it's up. We'll have to wait and see. But I think Mara's going to stick the course. But it is an interesting situation there. Then I saw this here. Now, apparently, it didn't take very long, right, for some people, especially the AFC, shall we say, right, to I don't know, be enamored by Danny Dimes. Don't worry, sooner or later I'll stop talking about Danny Dimes. It just, I just saw this article that it was a team out there that has an eye out for him, and it's just I don't know. I mean, maybe if he's under the right situation and everything, but this one team is not very good, and they're not very good. I mean, I don't know how much Daniel Jones is going to flourish, right, in a team that's not very good. It was with the Giants; they were not very good, and he didn't flourish very well. So, but let me read this article here. It took just 2 weeks for the Vikings to sell an desperate AFC team on Daniel Jones. The Daniel Jones hype is reaching unimaginable levels. Interesting. Daniel Jones has been on the Minnesota Vikings practice squad for all of 2 weeks, but apparently that's all it took to spark some potential off-season buzz. The former New York Giants quarterback, who was let go after years of inconsistency, is now being linked to the Tennessee Titans as a potential option to push Will Levis in 2025. Yes, you read that right. Daniel Jones, the former first-round bust, benched for undrafted Tommy Chicken Cutlet Parmesan DeVito earlier this season and waived outright, he waived outright. He asked to be released. That's why. He wouldn't have been waived outright if he didn't ask to get released. He probably would still be on the practice squad, right? Right? So he wouldn't have been waived outright. But he's back in the conversation as a viable quarterback option. Maybe Minnesota has some magic dust lying around at their facility because the idea that Jones has turned a corner in 2 weeks of practice squad reps is nothing short of hilarious, which is true. It's true. And yet here come the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee could be intrigued by the possibility of bringing in Jones as competition for Levis, whose up and down play this season has the team looking for answers. Apparently, desperate times call for Daniel Jones. Yeah, I think it's going to be a nice. There might be a mistake for them. Tennessee Titans are the latest team intrigued by Vikings quarterback Daniel Jones. The Titans' interest in Jones feels like a masterclass in optimism. You ain't kidding. Christopher Klein of Fansided made the case for Jones, writing, "It is perhaps foolish to tab Jones as a definite starter in 2025. Yep. But one has to think he deserves another chance." Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, well, let's reel this back here a little bit, right? Deserves another chance. Absolutely. Sure. I mean, sometimes, I can't, I'm not going to start spattering off names at the top of my head or whatever like that, because I'm too much of an idiot to try to remember that kind of stuff. But there's been plenty of other players who have maybe struggled or whatever for whatever reason with one team, gotten a fresh start. I mean, a lot of times you stink one place, maybe you're going to stink someplace else though. But sometimes it's not always. Maybe it might be the system. It might be the coaching. It might be this. Might be a bunch of things. Sometimes just to get the heck out of Dodge. I mean, New York can literally eat somebody alive, right? I mean, easily. It's a tough place to play, and if things aren't going well, it's tough, right? So maybe one of the best things for Daniel. I mean, if you go to Tennessee and New York, that's like night and day between the media, right? So go someplace where he gets a fresh start at. Sure, I mean, but somebody will put them all on their team. I mean, because the thing is, what the Vikings don't want to do is just put them on their get them right and throw them on their roster, because then they would be eligible. I'm not sure it's for the remaining of his contract for this season or whatever. So that would be a large chunk of money, right? That's why he's on the practice squad. But next season, without question, he'll be on somebody's team and he'll be given an opportunity. And even after he winds up maybe if he flounders and he only lasts, say he goes to the Titans next season and he doesn't work out, whatever the case is, right? Yeah, sure, maybe he'll get another chance someplace else. Absolutely, always. You never kick somebody to the curb because they don't work out. Right? I mean, look at Sam Darnold, right? If you want to just, right? I mean, it took him a few different places, right? He went to the Jets, he went to Carolina, he went to San Francisco. Now look what he's doing in Minnesota, right? Sometimes it's the system. Sometimes it's the person teaching the system. Sometimes you need a good team around you, a good, healthy team. But I mean, he has, same with Justin Jefferson, right? He's a good offensive-minded coach, right? I mean, it's just sometimes you just need a fresh start someplace different. So, does Daniel Jones deserve another chance? Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Is he going to be somebody who's going to lead a team to a Super Bowl? I don't know about that, but absolutely, he'll get on another team. Sure, he'll get on probably another couple teams. I mean, if he's picked number 6, I said, look what happened to Sam Darnold, right? What was he, pick 3? I think it was, right? I mean, he was with the Jets. Didn't make 4 years there. And then he was with Carolina. Then he went to San Francisco. Now he's with Minnesota. Right? So he bounced around from one team to the other. That's what's going to happen with Daniel Jones. Right? I mean, if he doesn't make it, if Minnesota doesn't sign him, right, he'll go someplace else. And then he might bounce around to another 1 or 2 teams. I'll have to wait and see. But he'll get a chance to compete. And if he flourishes and takes off, hey, he might become the starter for a team. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Right. Let's see. Okay. There we go. Klein went on to add that Jones can at least hold a fire to Levis's feet. If Jones outperforms Levis, that is at least clarifies something about the future in Tennessee. Jones probably isn't a long-term starting option, but he's a prototypical athlete for the position. 6'5", 230 pounds, perfect size. Very athletic, very good athlete, right? With mobility and an occasional cannon. He could provide a bit more stability with real pass protection and a viable playmaking group. Absolutely. But do they have that in Tennessee? Will Levis versus the Jaguars was nothing super spectacular against the Jaguars. It was 19 out of 32, 168 passing yards, no touchdowns. His quarterback rating was 20.6. Sure, Jones is the size of mobility teams like in the quarterback, but let's not forget why he's even on the Vikings practice squad in the first place. After 5+ years with the G-Men, Jones still failed to elevate the offense. And while it's easy to blame New York's issues, shaky offensive line, lackluster weapons, it's not like Jones was making plays and looking like the next Eli Manning. He was drowning. Nobody's saying Jones doesn't deserve a shot to stick around in the league, but the idea that he's suddenly a guy who can push Levis or stabilize any team's quarterback situation is a bit much. I have to agree there. 2 weeks on Minnesota's practice squad isn't a comeback story. It's a waiting room. Kevin O'Connell is probably helping Jones, but Kevin O'Connell has his own rookie to develop and a reclamation project in Sam Darnold to get ready for a deep playoff run. How much improvement will Jones actually undergo? Which is true. Yep. Adding Jones feels more like a move born out of necessity than conviction. The Titans understandably have mixed feelings about Levis, and with the draft light on elite quarterback talent, options are slim. But counting on Jones to stabilize a struggling team is iffy at best. You got that? You ain't kidding. What about Tennessee screams organizational excellence? Nothing. If Minnesota could truly unlock something with Jones in 2 weeks that the Giants couldn't figure out in 5+ years, then maybe Kevin O'Connell deserves Coach of the Year. That would be true. Until we see proof that Jones has made any real progress, though, this feels like another chapter in the saga of teams falling for the idea of Daniel Jones rather than the reality. This feels like deja vu. Another team looks at Jones and sees potential, while the fans who lived through his struggles knows exactly how the story ends. Tennessee wants to buy into the Daniel Jones experience. They're welcome to do, but maybe they should call New York first and ask about how that worked out. So, obviously, I really think, he certainly deserves a chance without question. Now, there's a possibility, he could be maybe elevated from their practice squad, maybe toward the end of the season. Right? Maybe, who knows? Maybe he gets in the game. I mean, I have to wait and say, who knows? But as of right now, he's on the practice squad, and how much Daniel Jones did while he was on the practice squad, or how much he learned, or how much he improved, or how much this, or how much that, who knows? Yeah, but as I said, does he deserve another chance? Absolutely, of course he does, right? And he'll get it with another team. Some team. If it's not the Vikings next year, it'll be another team, and he'll get a chance to, maybe depending on the situation. I mean, if he goes to the Chiefs, right? He'll back up Patrick Mahomes. He's not going to push Patrick Mahomes for a starting job, right? If he goes to Buffalo, he'll back up Josh Allen. He's not pushing Josh Allen for a starting job. If he goes to the Ravens, he's going to back up Lamar Jackson. He's not pushing Lamar Jackson for a starting job, right? If he goes to the Titans, right, he's going to push Will Levis for a starting job. But, unless he's surrounded, I mean, maybe if he goes to the Eagles, right, where they got the great offensive line, the running back, the tight end, the wide receiver, they got all of that. And, of course, the Eagles are all healthy, nice and healthy, because they're lucky, right? Maybe Daniel Jones could flourish and prosper in a situation like that, right? But if he's on a team that's totally decimated by injuries, bad offensive line, can't score any points, and all like that, Daniel Jones is only so good. But once again, I always wish the guy nothing but the best. All right, then I saw this here. Oh, yeah. New York teams delivering historic futility. So another article. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just not so much poor Darius Slayton right there. I really feel bad for the guy. I mean, it's just, some of these players that just been come through here with the Giants. You just feel bad for them. You know what I mean? When Saquon was here, obviously, I mean, it's a shame because, Saquon, with all of his, the time he spent here, was usually just, bad teams. We went to the playoffs the one time, of course, then we wound up getting blown out by the Eagles, right? But, I mean, usually it's almost like you're just wasting the dude's career. I mean, not that Slayton is on the same par as a Saquon, but, it's a shame. I mean, Darius Slayton is his sixth season, somewhere along the line. He's got of course, he's got a few more years left in him. Hopefully somebody, if it's not the Giants, hopefully he'll go someplace next year. Get a little payday, maybe sign a 2-year, 3-year deal with another team. Hopefully, maybe make a little bit more than $6 million a year, right? And wherever he goes, I'm pulling for him. The guy's been a class act, great guy and all that stuff. And I wish him nothing the best. But once again, it's just I hope he doesn't. But we will have to wait and see. But the Giants, I mean, this is. So you have the New York teams are a wretched hive of malfunction and pain. The Jets and Giants are delivering historic futility to New York NFL fans with no end in sight. The standing Sunday afternoon rule at Bleecker Street Bar remains defiantly unchanged. I don't know where Bleecker Street Bar is. The big televisions at the tavern on Broadway show the New York Giants and Jet games, no matter their record or the degree to which they test their fans' sanity. The screens stay tuned to them until what will be, with staggering probability, a bitter end. Oh, yeah, you got that right. At our bar, we keep the games on, manager Robert Lacko said. We like to torture our clients. We don't replace New York games in a New York bar. We watch it to the very end, and we enjoy the pain that we share with one another. For New York football fans this season, pain and losing have come in abundance. The Jets and Giants have shared a city for more than 6 decades, yet the football-like substance oozing out of New York is unprecedented in its futility. Both franchises have 3 or fewer victories through 13 games for the first time since 1980. Their 192 combined winning percentage would surpass the 214 mark of the 1976 season. Their combined 5-21 record matches 2020 when the Jets were winless and the Giants stood at 5-8 as the worst in New York's history to this point in the season. It is possible, albeit improbable, that they will finish with the 2 worst records in the NFL and pick first and second in the draft for the first time ever. Obviously, once again, the gap. Right. Last Sunday, Plum flew over to MetLife Stadium with a message for Giants owner John Mara. Mr. Mara, enough. Please fix this dumpster fire. As kickoff approached, tickets could be bought on the secondary market for $1 or $2. This week, the Giants were 16.5-point underdogs against the Ravens. It's a running joke almost now, said former Giants personnel executive Mark Ross, now an NFL Network analyst. When I get there, the Giants always made fun of the Jets for being so bad, but now both of them have been at the bottom for so many years of misery. Though the season has plumbed new depths, it is the continuation of joint spiral. Since 2020, the Jets have the worst point differential in the league, minus 564, and the Giants are third worst, minus 481. So basically, between the Giants and the Jets, since 2020 combined, their point differential is over a minus 1,000. I mean, talk about unbelievable. Jets have not been to playoffs in 14 years. Wow. The longest drought in major North American sports. Let that sink into your head. Since 2011, the Jets and Giants have just a single season, each with double-digit wins. The only other NFL franchises similarly afflicted are Jacksonville and Washington, which is 2 victories from exiting that club. In the past decade, the Jets and Giants have combined for 10 coaches, counting interim coaches, 22 starting quarterbacks, and 1 playoff victory. 2 of those totals are certain to increase in week 1 next season. Despite the Giants' 4 Super Bowl titles, New York owns a punishing professional football history. The Jets and Giants have both finished with winning records 9 times in 65 seasons. They both won a playoff in the same season just once. That was 1986. That was before the Jets. They won a playoff game. I think they beat the Chiefs. Then they got knocked out in overtime against the Browns. That was a tough loss. Then they lost. They were beating the Browns, I think 20-10, I think it was, with like 5 minutes to go in the game. And they gave up like 2 scores in the final 5 minutes of the game. Descended in overtime. Then, of course, then they lost it in overtime. I was kind of hoping that season, 86, would be the Giants and the Jets in the Super Bowl. But never came to be. The most comparable indignity to this season occurred in 1976 after 3 preseason losses. Jets coach Lou Holtz, fresh from college, said, "If I knew that coaching in the pros was this tough, I never would have taken the job." The Jets home opener did not sell out in time to prevent a local television blackout. In advance of Week 5, a New York Times headline aiming for his job said, Jets and Giants 0-8, likely to be 0-10 on Sunday. The Jets defied the Gray Lady and won their first game that week. The Giants would lose their first 9 games in 1976. Both teams finished 3-11 in the 14-game regular season. But 4 weeks ago, this year's version of New York Pro Football is on pace to be worse. See, the Jets fire coach Robert Saleh after falling to 2-3. Rodgers has flashed occasional signs of his former excellence between spells of looking shoddy and blaming teammates, which he always does. Clients come in with their Jets gear knowing that Aaron Rodgers is going to screw this up again, Lackhouse said. People consider him a curse for the Jets at this point. The Jets have faltered in almost every crucial moment, going 0-7 in games decided by 6 points or fewer. Yep. It starts to feel like we have a losing problem, like a gene or something, Jets wideout Garrett Wilson said after Sunday's overtime loss at Miami. The the Jets' nature and the Giants' nature, nosedive suggests that they have happened on parallel tracks. Both rosters have been mismanaged. Both ownerships have erred in consistent and often spectacular fashions, but the mistakes have been different and separate aside from geography. All the decisions are bad decisions, Ross said. It's really a coincidence that it's at the same time. I don't think there's anything in the water in Jersey or the Meadowlands or anything like that. Patrons have not stopped showing up to Bleecker Street Bar and Giants and especially Jet Scare, Lackhouse said. Fans don't stop being fans no matter how much reason their teams provide. They may seek solace in unexpected places, such as another New York State team. Lackhouse has noticed more and more roars in the bar when the Bills win. There's a lot of disgruntled Giants and Jet fans that are backing Buffalo as a replacement. Well, good. I'll tell you what, if Buffalo, were to wind up winning, I'm happy with that. As long as nobody but no Eagles and no Chiefs. The Bills win, good for them. Really, really good for them. Then of course, there's also this year. Vegas goes, and it just kind of shows you, right? That there's no love at all for the Giants or the Jets, especially from Vegas. As Vegas insults Tommy DeVito in a way that NFL hasn't seen in decades. Giants have made history this week, but not the kind Big Blue fans hope for. Vegas has favored the Baltimore Ravens by 16.5 points over Tommy DeVito and the G-Men, marked the largest NFL spread this season. The previous record this year was the Detroit Lions as a 14-point favorite over Jacksonville in Week 11. The Lions easily covered 52-6. Last time a team was favored by more than 16 points occurred last season when the Cowboys covered a 17.5-point spread in Week 10 against the Giants. And ironically, DeVito was the starting quarterback. The Cowboys were dominated. The Cowboys were dominated 49. No. Cowboys were dominant 49, or the Giants were dominated 49-17. Tommy Cutler turned to start because both Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor were injured. Vegas insults Tommy DeVito and the Giants by making them 16-point underdogs for the second time in consecutive seasons. As they just said, right? DeVito will start again Sunday in place of Drew Lock. The veteran is dealing with a heel injury and is wearing a walking boot. Giants head coach Brian Daboll stated earlier in the week that Locke would be the starter if healthy. However, after Locke failed to practice on Wednesday, the team officially named Tommy Chicken Cutler Parmesan this week's starting quarterback. Not only are Big Blue and DeVito 16-point underdogs in back-to-back season, but this marks the first time in over 50 years the Giants are 14-plus point underdogs at home. Last time instance came in 1966 when the Giants were 16.5-point underdogs against the St. Louis Cardinals. Despite losing only 20-17, the Giants managed to cover the spread that particular day, offering a glimmer of hope for fans looking for history to repeat itself. Typically, fans are inclined to back the home team against the spread, but the Giants have hit a new all-time low as a home team. Being this heavily favored against a home team hasn't occurred since 2021. Since 2019, only 2 of the 7 largest home spreads have been covered, highlighting how rare and humiliating it is for a home team to face odds like these. Giants are 4-9 against the spread this season, tied for the second worst record in the league behind the Titans. Vegas has struggled to figure out Tennessee as they are 2-11 against the spread this season. For the Giants, an 8-game losing streak looms large over Sunday's matchup. However, DeVito and Big Blue will look to snap that streak and defy both the odds and the critics against the dominant Ravens squad. No, that's not happening. Quite possibly, maybe, right, for the for the Giants, right? Maybe they can cover the spread, right? If they lose by 10, that might be like I don't know. Somehow they can score 17 points and lose 27-17. That might be like a moral victory, right? Once again, you look at it's just like There's, the one or two plays that went the Giants' way this season, like the one when Isaiah Simmons jumped over the line, blocked the Seahawk trying game-tying field goal. Bryce Ford Wheaton picked it up, ran it back for a touchdown, right? That might be the one highlight, the only one highlight for the Giants all season long. Well, it backfired on them last week, right? I mean, the Giants, 14-3, went down, scored a touchdown. I think they got their first 2-point conversion all season long to make it 14-11. Held serve, they got the ball back. I think then they kicked and they got the ball back again, and finally they marched down the field, right, looking for that improbable tying field goal. And of course, the guy jumps over the line and blocks the field goal. Yeah. So it is what it is. But once again, it just seems like whatever can go against the Giants, it's going against the Giants. I mean, everything's going against the Giants this year. So absolute shame. But on a brighter side here, if I may here, going forward, looking toward next season, there's a good chance, right? The Giants should have plenty of money to spend next season. Now, this would be quite beneficial for the Giants, right? If they did a very good job this offseason in the draft. Very, very good job. I believe, once again, did they screw the things up with Saquon? You can certainly look at it. Was he going to do with the Giants what he's doing? Of course not. The Eagles, almost everybody's healthy. They have no injuries, hardly any injuries, right? They have a very good offensive line, one of the best offensive line coaches in football, 2 number 1 wide receivers. Yeah, they got all of this, right? The only reason why they can afford all those players, the Eagles, because they have $300 or $400 million in contracts pushed all the way down the road, right? They're pushing all the chips in the middle of the table. See, not many other GMs are doing. No, I mean, actually, the Eagles have the most money pushed down the road, far away above any other team, right? So that's the only reason why the Eagles can field such a good team, right? If they were what the Giants are and don't have a lot of money pushed down the road, the Eagles would not have as good of a team. But that's the only reason why the Eagles have as good of a team as they have a good team. But I mean, that's the only reason why their team is as good as it is, right? Plain and simple. But Saquon wouldn't be doing what he's doing with the Giants as he's doing with the Eagles. Of course not. Yeah. But I mean, they got Runyon. They did. Illuminor did a decent job when he was here. The draft was very, very good, right? Now, if the Giants can get another good draft this season, now we might get another, we might get a couple, we might get a compensatory pick, maybe a possible 4th rounder. So literally, we should literally have 4 of the top 100 players, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. About 4 of the top 100 players we should get. Those guys should be contributors, right? We get a compensatory pick, another 4th round pick, right? Be pick number whatever, I don't know, 130, whatever it might wind up being or something like that. I mean, if we, as I said, if you look right with Theo, Tracy, Newman, Phillips, and Malik, we had 5 starters, right? If we can do the same thing next year, get another 5 starters, that would be huge. Absolutely. Another 5 young, cheap starters, that would be huge. The problem is that, Phillips has been banged up. Newman's out for the season. Theo Johnson's out for the season, But, it would be huge to have another good draft. But not only have that, but we should be able to bring in a couple players. Especially if we don't need to bring in a high-priced quarterback, right? If we can bring in somebody like maybe, somebody along the lines, maybe a Drew Lock or something like that. Somebody as a backup, a decent backup, right? If we want to draft in Sanders or Ward, right? He'll be on the cheap. Of course, if he's the number 1 pick, it's about $10 million, but I'd rather have a $10 million quarterback than a $50 million quarterback, right? But we should certainly have some money to wind up spending. The Giants should have plenty of money to spend this off season. Better days are coming, we're ahead, always being told. But for the Giants fans, it's going to take a lot of bona fide proof for them to start believing in their team again. That effort will begin in March when the league's new year begins with free agency. Dan Dugan of The Athletic reports that the Giants should be in prime position to bolster their roster with some established young veterans. If Joe Schoen gets a fourth year as Giants general manager, he'll have plenty of money to spend on a roster in dire need of upgrades. And if Schoen gets fired, he'll leave his replacement a much better cap situation than the one he inherited from Dave Gettleman, which is true. I mean, let's not forget, we couldn't even afford to keep James Bradberry. I mean, with the situation that Gettleman left us in, and basically we just basically handed James Bradberry to the frickin' Eagles because we couldn't afford to pay him, right? But the only reason why the Eagles were able to afford to pay him was because they, with all their other players, they just brought him in to get a good team, right? And they just took his bunch of people's salary, maybe his, I don't remember, and pushed a bunch of the money just down the road. We'll pay you later. Yeah, we'll just push all the money down the road. We'll get all good players in here. We'll have a good team. Harry Roseman looks like the GM of all time, and he just pushes all the money down the road, right? Giants are projected to have $57.3 million in cap space next year. That's a highly fluid number at this point, but it's the 14th highest projection in the league, so they'll be well positioned to spend. Giants are actually set in many areas: linebacker, running back, safety, wide receiver, tight end, and yes, even the offensive line to some degree. Naturally, they can augment and improve those groups through the draft and free agency, and they probably will. But they can surgically add a few big-ticket free agents to put them back on the right track. If Schoen has another solid draft, the Giants just might turn this thing around for good. But first things first. Dugan points out immediately that the Giants do not have a quarterback under contract for next season, at least not at the moment. All three of the quarterbacks, Tommy DeVito, Drew Lock, and Tim Boyle, will see their current contracts expire after this season. DeVito will not exactly be free to sign with another team. However, he will be an exclusive rights free agent, meaning the Giants, I think if they offer him a contract, he has to sign it. So he's an exclusive rights free agent by virtue of not having 3 accrued NFL seasons under his belt. And the Giants will have first dibs on his services. With the Giants looking at a possible top 3 pick in the draft, they could be in play for either, obviously, Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. That should answer the quarterback question. But if they don't land either and are staring down at Colorado's everyman, Travis Hunter, they might just take him and or trade the pick outright and obtain a quarterback in another way. In free agency, Sam Darnold figures to be the top name, but he'll be sought after by several teams. He might just steer clear of northern New Jersey for obvious reasons. I don't blame him. Just because he's a free agent doesn't mean you throw and the Giants or Jets throw money at Sam Darnold does not mean he's coming back here. Schoen will likely address the offensive line again. He hasn't gotten it right yet and is determined to do so. He has the money and bandwidth to go down that road, even with over $56 million committed to the group in 2025. Cornerback is another situation unit Schoen will likely target. The Giants have been focusing on this the past 2 drafts and will probably continue to do so. Now that the thing is obviously with the cornerback, right? I mean, maybe Banks is just not the one, right? Flott's been doing pretty good, right? But Flott does get nicked up quite a bit because he's guy's so thin. But he has not had a bad season at all. Phillips is very good in the slot, nickel, corner, whatever you want to call him, right? But maybe Banks should be slid over to the other side, maybe where he's not on the number 1 wide receiver. We'll have to wait and see. But we certainly could use a real good cornerback. Absolutely. Now that's something you can get in the draft. That's something you can get in free agency. So we'll have to wait and see. But we do need the bolster. And to be honest with you, we're obviously a little thin there as well too. Right? if we can keep Flott, we got Phillips, and we got Banks, and we can get another guy in there, that would be a nice 4, right? That would be good. So if somebody gets injured or whatever, if you got 4, that would be good. So I really think we need a defensive tackle, somebody to put next to Sexy. On the defensive side, I like to say, right, would be a defensive tackle and another cornerback. The linebackers, okay, I said we got our 2 edge rushers. Unfortunately, Azeez Ojulari is probably going to hit free agency. We probably won't be able to bring him. Hopefully we can, but the guy's always injured. What is he now? He's injured, right? Unfortunately, for a period of time, we actually had 3 edge rushers this season, but we're going to need another edge rusher. That's somebody you can try to maybe get in the draft, maybe whatever 3rd round pick or whatever. We need some depth there, right? But that is a depth thing. The Giants could use a good cornerback and a good defensive tackle, right? Without question, put next to Sexy. So that's on the defensive side. Offensive side, we need a quarterback. You can get a running back, like trade somebody in the 4th or 5th round, right? We need a receiving tight end, right? Obviously, you're not going to fill all your holes in this one upcoming year, but between maybe this year, maybe the following year, you can get a good receiving tight end. That would be really nice, a nice weapon. That would be great. So another running back, maybe to replace Gray. We can obviously use another wide receiver. Yeah, but we need a quarterback. Yeah, but the thing is, I'm saying is that to wind up bringing in, a couple of free agents, because let's not forget, somewhere along the line you might want to have to extend Kayvon. Some of these other guys, if you're going to maybe extend a guy here or a guy there, maybe keep a guy, you might need some money, right? But the Giants should be in a decent spot. Let's bring in a couple players. And I said, if they can knock it out of the park once again, like they did last year in the draft, and get another 3, 4, 5 starters like they did this year, that would be huge for the Giants. Not only so much for the starters, but we need depth. Because you notice it just seems like every year when the guys start getting injured and we put guys in behind them, it's just you notice a big drop off in talent. And just the depth, the injuries, just kills the Giants. Absolutely kills the Giants. But once again, that's next year. All right, then I saw this finally. This is might be some good news here. Right? There was a sighting in New York. Right? Shedeur and Malik seen on the streets of New York. Oh yeah, so you're telling me we got a chance, huh? There was a couple videos out there. One of them was Malik and Shedeur. They were out throwing football on the street in New York, right? And one thing I did, there was a video. I can't remember what Shedeur. He was talking to somebody. I don't remember who it was, but he was talking, and he mentioned. He said talking about last season. He said Malik was my favorite player last season. He loved it. So, I mean, I think that'd be a heck of a couple. But the thing is that what he does in college is one thing. That's great. That's fine. Can he bring that into the pro game? It's it's a 92 quarterback rating in college. He completes 73% of his passes. I mean, he's probably the greatest quarterback of all time. Well, we should draft him, and he'll win us 300 Super Bowls. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You got to be able to come in and read the defenses and think think quick and make right decisions. It's not easy. Yeah, I mean, you look at all these quarterbacks that get drafted in the first round, and you'll go back each draft. It's like, well, this year they drafted, this one particular, they drafted 5 quarterbacks in the first round. Well, 2 of them were okay. 3 of them sucked. It's not easy. It's not just because you draft a quarterback in the first round, you got your quarterback for the next 300 years. Super Bowl, baby. No, it's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. Right? So, but sometimes it's, they bring somebody in and they draft them. It just may not, once again, what Sam Darnold's doing, right? They brought him in, drafted a high in New York, brought him in New York. What's he do? I can't say he stuck up the joint, but he just wasn't good. Goes to Minnesota, different place, different system, different coaching staff, different atmosphere, blah, 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 all that stuff. He's doing pretty good, so. But just because you draft somebody up high, this does not mean you get a chance, you draft it. How did Jamarcus Russell work out for those Raiders, huh? Right? Yeah. Just because you draft somebody right, up high does not mean they're going to want it working out. But the Shedeur and Malik Neighbors played catch in New York City among Giants NFL draft rumors. Nice. There's a video out there. They're standing probably about 10 yards apart. Maybe a little more than that. Maybe 15 yards apart. Yeah, maybe about 15 yards apart or so, throwing a football. Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders and the New York Giants wide receiver Malik Neighbors played catch in New York Street City on Friday. Sanders is in town to support his Buffalo's teammate, Travis Hunter, who is a heavy favorite, and he wound up winning a Heisman Trophy. Sanders and Neighbors could very well be the Giants' teammates next year. If this season ended today, the Giants 2-11 would hold the number 2 overall pick in the draft, with the 2-11 Raiders currently at number 1 by virtue of having a weaker strength of schedule winning percentage. New York needs a quarterback and could land Sanders, who very well could be quarterback 1 and perhaps the first prospect off the board. Per Sports Illustrated, Brian Fisher, I do apologize, General Manager Joe Shane and Director of Player Personnel Tim McDonald watched Colorado host and beat Utah on November 16th. 10 days later, Shane attended a Colorado practice and was seen chatting with head coach, primetime Deion Sanders. ESPN's Phil Yates notably projects Sanders to go first overall to the Giants in the latest mock draft. One thing here, this is, this was a couple of things here. A lot of people have been saying that Deion Sanders, it's a lie that Shedeur won't play for the Giants. Colorado coach Deion Sanders on Saturday branded it a lie, a report that his son Shedeur, who could be the number 1 overall pick in the draft, would refuse to play for the New York Giants. NFL Rookie Watch wrote that there was reportedly a high likelihood Sanders would refuse to play if he was drafted by either the Giants or the Browns. NFL Rookie Watch also wrote that many NFL scouts reportedly believe the Giants will end up settling for Cam Ward, knowing Sanders won't play for them. Deion Sanders took to X to dispute the report. He wrote, "A lie. Don't care who tells it. Please stop trying to become relevant by misrepresenting my son. God bless you." Coach Prime. 2-11 Giants currently hold the 2nd overall pick. Per Tankathon, Pro Football Network gives the Giants a 38.9% chance of earning the 1st overall pick. Sanders is currently the consensus number 1 overall per NFL mock draft database. He was seen in New York City on Friday night playing catch on the side of the street with the Giants wide receiver Malik Neighbors. And there's another thing here, too, that Shedeur's brother rips rumors the quarterback would refuse to play for the Giants and the Browns. Deion Sanders Jr. took to X on Saturday to shoot down an unsubstantiated rumor regarding the NFL preferences of his brother, Shedeur Sanders. An account called the NFL Rookie Watch posted Saturday that the University of Colorado quarterback is prepared to be drafted by the Raiders or the Cowboys. And there is a high likelihood he would refuse to play for the Giants or the Browns. In response, Sanders Jr. wrote that the account was completely lying. On the heels of an excellent 2024 campaign, Shedeur Sanders is considered a likely candidate to be one of the top picks in the draft, obviously, perhaps the top quarterback off the board. There's recently been a great deal of speculation regarding the Raiders as a landing spot for Sanders, due partly to Sanders' own actions. Last week, Sanders posted a photo of Raiders at Allegiant Stadium on the Instagram stories along with the caption, "Legendary." The Raiders are tied with the Giants for the worst record, obviously, right? Obviously, after the Raiders released Derek Carr, the Raiders signed veteran quarterback Jimmy G, but he struggled to the point that he lost his job to the then rookie Aiden O'Connell. This past offseason, the Raiders replaced Garoppolo with Gardner Minshew, but he has thrown more interceptions than touchdowns, and O'Connell has not proved himself to be a long-term starting solution. So, and of course, the Cowboys are 5-8. And they're not in a position to plan to draft him. That's ridiculous. That's not happening. I mean, you don't know how many players, how many teams would have to, to go up to. I mean, Sanders not going. Sanders ain't reaching no Cowboys. The Cowboys would have to trade up, way up, to get Sanders. And what's that going to say for Dak, right? So I mean, if that's spelling the end for Dak, and you come up all this and you trade away all this draft capital to get Shedeur, and if Shedeur doesn't work out, where does that leave you guys at? Whew. But there's one other thing that I want to just read here real fast that I saw. This right here. This is from Coach Prime, right? It said, to whom it may concern, the video that's being played of me and Coach Pierce of the Raiders, right, is from the Super Bowl from last year. God bless and have a phenomenal day. We are Coach Prime. So, and there was, and I know I saw another thing, obviously about being wrong. I mean, because there's like video going around of him and Antonio Pierce, right? So everybody's, oh man, so that's why Coach Prime and Antonio Pierce, that's why they're in the video and all of that. So, of course, he wants Shedeur to go to the Raiders. He's not going to. No, I mean, that was like from last year. Coach Prime is trying to, I guess, like dispel all these myths and everything like that. So it really seems like it's just total BS that Shedeur or Coach Prime will not let Shedeur play for the Giants. There was another video I saw. I think they were on an elevator, and Shedeur, I don't know who he was talking to, but he was on the elevator. He had a football. He's pounding the football, and he's talking to somebody. And it was like a 10-second video, and Shedeur was like pounding the football. And somebody was taking a video, and he knew he was being videoed. And Shedeur was like pounding the ball, and he grabbed the ball, and he looked at the ball, right, and had a little NY on it. So he got the ball, and he held the ball in a certain way. And whoever was videoing him, he turned the ball to the camera, and right here in the palm of right where the ball was at, in the front of the ball said NY, and he did it twice. He had the ball, he's pounding the ball, and he held it to the camera like this, and he saw NY. Then he grabbed it back and he held it to the camera again. You saw a little NY on there. So, if he's doing this just to mock the Giants or something like that, I think that's a bit much, but he's out there playing catch with Malik, right? He's holding a football to the camera, New York Giants football with an NY signia on it to the camera, all that and everything. Once again, does that mean he's coming to the Giants? Of course not. Doesn't mean, anything can happen in these final 4 games. The Giants can win a couple games and wind up picking 6th or 7th and be totally out of the quarterback market. So it is what it is. But I think all of these, what would you say? These, the myths of the BS and all that stuff as far as Coach Prime, or Deion Sanders not wanting his son to come to play for the Giants. I think it's just, and Shedeur doesn't want to play for the Giants. I think it's all a bunch of BS. All right, guys, been 1 hour and 29, almost 1 hour and 30 minutes. Whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you. Or if anybody's going to spend any time watching the replays, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Means the world to me. Greatly appreciate it. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo! Oh, yeah.